even Control Warriors, you know, you see them sometimes running a Yogg. For this guy to just be like, nah, guys, I'm confident enough in my ability to play the Token Druid just by itself. It's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, I don't think I could omit Yogg from my deck. I feel like the instant my opponent plays Yogg, I'm getting triple power blasted to my face. But yeah, he is going to go with that. This build of his, well, not the exact build, but in general, just having the late game options, but not Yogg itself, is something that Team G2 with Life Coach and Tice have, they kind of popularized early on.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more consistency, right? You're not worrying about whether Yogg can bring you back. There is the nice like fail safe where if you fall behind on board, you can just get back in a, just with one card essentially. But sometimes it fails you, and in other cases you haven't played enough spells. That's not really an option. Maybe you just ramped the entire time, played all minions, you see yourself fall behind, and you're like, well, I have a 5-spell Yogg and I have to do it, and then you just lose. So it certainly makes sense to just have those late game options instead.
Do you think the Malygos kind of variant of the Token Druid has an advantage over the more traditional Token Druid?
Well, the issue is that they don't have the taunts to kind of get in the way if they are facing some damage. But that said, since there isn't really much burst damage, I would say that the Malygos Druid has a bit of an edge, because any damage that they can get in really helps them push the damage later on and kind of have the finishing blow with the Malygos in the end there.
Yeah, it feels great to just Malygos, Moonfire, Living Roots, and it's like boom.
I think that the biggest thing though is that there's that fear, right? If you're playing if you're playing against Malygos, it's like playing against the old combo Druid. You couldn't even you don't want to take any damage. Sometimes you can make a better play as far as the board is concerned by face taking damage here and there, and maybe playing a little bit more ballsy, for lack of a better word. And what you can do is back in the old days you couldn't really do that because even 20 damage wasn't safe, right? If one minion stuck on the board like a Shredder, you would just die. And the same thing, it's kind of a similar thing here with the Malygos Druid. You don't really want to be taking damage because you could just die to Malygos. That all said, Chong has already used his Moonfire on the last turn, so bit of a, less fear, I would say, for Ledah going into this. But he has picked up quite the hand here, and Innervate would serve him super well. On the side of ChongGEr, not really much to do. Probably going to see an Azure Drake on this turn. Fangel doesn't seem like it's really worth it. He could play it just to force out a response from his opponent, but at 7 mana, you're not really forcing that much out. You're not really... The opportunity cost isn't that much.
Yeah. And you definitely want to have value. You want to squeeze value out of the Fandral. When you have 2 Wraths already in hand, he draws a 3rd one as well.
Yeah, those are 5 damage Wraths if this Surgery can stick, by the way, but it's not going to stick. Going to be the swipe coming out. There's still 4 damage if you compare them with the Fangel, but it's going to be the Wild Growth here for Ledah combining with the swipe, giving initiative back to the opponent, but it's a reasonable chance that ChongGEr doesn't have anything to do, considering he is playing the Malygos variant. And wow, okay, just going to play out the Fandral onto the board. I can't say, yeah, I was going to say, puts back in his hand like, no. With 3 Wraths in hand, I feel like you can respond to almost anything that comes on the board, and if your Fangel dies, you're going to be feeling really bad about it.
Is this one of those times where you just hero power and pass?
Yeah, I feel like that has to be the play. You can just get so much done, coming back onto the board. The problem with giving your opponent initiative normally is that it's hard to come back from the situation. You're always responding, you're always letting your opponent dictate the pace, but with Fangel and Triple Wrath in hand, it's not something you need to worry about, right? You can easily just get back onto the board, and looks like ChongGEr, feels like he just needs to do this right now, though.
Yeah, I think he wants to try and get things moving. I'm not sure what really prompted him to do that. Like, I don't feel like there's much of a hurry.
I suppose we can see what prompted him in Ledah's hand, right? The Wisps of the Old Gods, Soul of the Forest, Power of the Wild, obviously can't do all of that in one turn, but maybe ChongGEr feels like he can't respond to everything with just the Fangel on the double Wrath. He needs the Fangel on the board, needs to stop what Ledah's doing right now before it comes out.
Would you Wisp and Power of the Wild here, or? That is 7 2/2s.
It is 7 2/2s. That is absolutely correct here. The issue is leaving the Fangel. He can't really deal with the Fangel. He can Savage or Living Roots here power, but doesn't feel too great. I think he might be waiting for Wisp of the Old Gods with the Soul of the Forest, which is impossible to do unless you get Innervate. But, looks like he's set on playing this Arcane Giant. He's going to go ahead and play Living Roots, but this is really, really going to get punished by the Fangel, like really badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Double Wrath just takes that out. So 4 mana and 0 cards. There's 4 mana and 0 cards to take out this Arcane Giant. More than you actually paid for the Arcane Giant.
Right.
As far as mana is concerned, or excuse me, less I should say. Math is hard. Less than, more than, or English is hard I should say. But yeah, easy cleanup on this Arcane Giant. Arcane Giant of his own. Cannot play that right now, but might as well just swipe the face, get that pressure in, and show him who's boss. Fangel getting in there for 3 damage as well. If Ledah goes ahead and wisps into the Power of the Wild, okay, he was saving for a coin into Soul of the Forest.
Oh yeah, he's gonna do it.
All right, so I guess, okay, obviously I was mistaken last turn when I said you need to innervate for this. Typically, you don't have coin the entire game.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, okay, let's see. He has 7 damage on board, turns into 14 with Power of the Wild, and then added an extra 24? Wow. I can't do math. No, I can't do math. 14, and then the plus 16, so 30. He has 30 damage. So if ChongGEr doesn't hero power up, he's dead.
Oh no!
But he also might just have. He might just fail rage here, honestly.
Just it's so scary.
Okay, he might have killed himself. Speaking of ChongGEr.
This would be the sickest turnaround.
He needs a fail rage for armor. I mean, well, he's gonna get that anyway because of Fangel.
Yeah.
But he can now innervate into Arcane Giant, but I think Ledah might have lethal here. Hold on. Caster math is so hard, guys. Okay. 12 plus 6 is 18. I think that's... And then plus... Has he done it already? Ledah, show us you've counted this already. 18 plus the 7 plus times 2 is 14. 32, so he's a bit off.
Oh, yeah.
He has 32
doesn't
damage.
Quite have it yet.
I don't think ChongGEr realizes how close he is to dying right now. That doesn't help. Because he's already used 5 mana to go ahead and do that.
He does have the innervate though, so he does have access to more mana crystals here if he wants it. He's gonna see what he gets here. Oh!
Another Wish of the Old Gods. Moonblade Portal's pretty nice as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, he's kind of...
He's low in health, right? So
yeah, he's losing his win condition though by doing this. Because he needs to go ahead and Moonblade Portal right now, which means he trades in 3 Treants into the Fangel.
Right.
After that, he can... Oh, wow, to Northwind. We're going to Northwind. All right. Argent Commander, 2 Northwind we go. Can actually trade off with the Twist, or excuse me, the Sapling as well. Get that extra 8 damage into the face, and now he has lethal next turn if this board isn't cleared, but it might be Yogg time.
Does ChongGEr realize if he does, he's probably gonna...
He has to suspect, right? Because Ledah actually didn't go for the Wisp of the Old Gods the prior turn. So here we go. Yogg doesn't even play the Innervate, already has 10 spells. Cleave is a good start. Yeah.
He's going to remove 2 bodies straight away. Summons some Treants of his own.
Yeah, this can't...
Oh, here we go.
Wow,
where's
Power
he going
Blast.
To go?
Okay. All right, Hunter's Mark doesn't really matter all that much. Journey Below, he needs to start clearing this board a little bit, although he might be safe already, having cleared a couple.
Yeah.
Power Word Glory is reasonable, but doesn't go on the opponent's minion. Gets a couple of secrets, which is scary if you are Ledah. And by the way, he has Deathwing in his hand all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he can actually innervate into the Power of the Wild, which is very strong as well. He doesn't have any way to clear parts of this board, so there's no real... I suppose he can go innervate into Hero Power if he's feeling really scared right now, but I don't think there's any way that Ledah can find lethal. Yeah, there's so few minions on the board, it's basically impossible at this point. So yeah, he's just going to go ahead, speaking of ChongGEr, he's going to make this board bigger. Ledah doesn't have Yogg, which means I think this game is just over.
Yeah, how do you come back from a situation like this?
There's no lethal, right? Unless, even if there's, you know, the secrets don't matter at all. I don't think there's any, so there's 8 on board, you might as well, so 8 plus another 8 from the Savage Drawer would be 16, and then the
plus
Power...
3?
Yeah, so 19, and then plus another 6 would be 24.
Yeah.
So he's, or sorry, 25. He's actually kind of close.
He's still close, but not just a little bit off there. He has to really, yeah. He knows he's out of power. Like, what other win conditions does he really have left in his deck?
Yeah, he was counting lethal there at the end and wasn't able to find it, obviously, because it wasn't there. And went ahead and conceded. By the way, I gotta say, I was just sweating bullets doing caster math on this. This is the worst feeling because you know you have to do the math for the people, and oh god, nothing makes a caster sweat more than caster math, guys. Just let me know. We got through it though. We got through it.
Yeah, that was like a really weird game because like both guys were really close to killing each other for the longest time, but it never really happened. So the pressure was really building for the viewers. I wonder if ChongGEr actually knew how close he was to dying.
Yeah, definitely.
He must have suspected.
I do have to. I'll just go out and apologize to the viewers because I didn't really see what Ledah was doing. I was thinking, why didn't he just go for the the Wisp of the Old Gods plus the Power of the Wild right there? But obviously he had a plan. Wisp of the Old Gods into the Solar Forest, into the Power of the Wild, and he was hitting lethal in that fashion. So it definitely made sense. It was a reasonable game plan. Unfortunately, going for the Arcane Giant that one turn really hurt him.
Yeah.
And as long as ChongGEr was able to stay alive there, then he was going to be able to finish out the game. One thing to keep in mind, the one thing that makes it actually really smart, is that there's no taunts in ChongGEr's deck.
Yeah.
So without fail rate, he actually just loses. Speaking of ChongGEr.
Very true. And also, if Ledah had managed to get an answer for that Fandral a little earlier, all those Wraths wouldn't have gotten those insane value.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he did have, even if he didn't play the Fandral earlier, he did have the ability to go Fandral and double Wrath. He had 9 mana, I believe, on the turn that the Arcane Giant came down.
Yeah.
So Fandral, double Wrath, Living, which I think would have been pretty insane regardless. But there, I think it would have ended up the same. I don't think the chip damage from the saplings matter. But anyway, that all aside, we are going to the next game. Pretty insane game 1 to start out our lower bracket finals, and we'll see what these guys pick up. Or, excuse me, choose next year. Maybe the Rogue on the side of Ledah. And going to be the N'Zoth Warrior. And the thing is, typically Rogue has a difficulty dealing with the Warrior. But typically that's because it's Cthulhu Warrior.
Right.
And you get those 10 mana, or excuse me, those 10 armor swings with the Ancient Shield Bearers, but that's not in ChongGEr's deck. So, a bit of a better chance here for Ledah, but there is a bit of a counter here in the deck of ChongGEr, and that is the Tink Master Overspark. If you ever see a Concealed Gadgetzan Auctioneer, Tink Master comes down. Even if it's Devil's Sword, that's way better than a Concealed Auctioneer. ChongGEr's going to go ahead and equip the Fiery War Axe. By the way, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think that ChongGEr and Ledah played earlier on in the winner's bracket, and ChongGEr won.
Yeah, that would have been the round of 16. Well, winner round of 16.
No, I think it was the semifinals. Because he beat Ledah, went to the finals, played Shy, and Ledah fell down, and Ledah just played.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
By the way, it's not turn 6 yet, but ChongGEr, having picked up that Justicar Trueheart, is kind of a big deal because it really puts the clock on Ledah. If ChongGEr can ever develop that minion, then, tank up is no joke.
Yeah, but he really needs the space to be able to develop that without, it needs to be a pretty clear board for him to feel comfortable enough to play that.
Right. So that's why ChongGEr's going out of his way to clear the board right now.
Yeah.
So that he has the space in the future. But Ledah's looking to be in a pretty good spot. By the way, Ledah's Rogue doesn't have the Questing Adventurers. It's kind of an old school build with Violet Teacher and 1 Earthring Farseer, one each.
What do you think the reasoning behind that is? Why is that in any way better than the questing build?
The questing, you can't really play you can't play questing on curve.
Okay.
Right, so you're really all in. It just becomes that much more of a combo deck. Like everything just has to be combo here, combo there. There's no playing on curve. There's no competing with any of the tempo decks. So yeah, it certainly makes sense. And looks like it's going to be second revenge coming out here. No 3 damage revenges in the future. I'm going to go ahead and play out the Elise as well. So he has somewhat of a board. Probably going to delay that Justicar a little bit more. Whether it's the Cairn next turn or something like Bash. But yeah, Ledah in an interesting spot right now. He can just go fishing with Gadgetzan. Would be quite an interesting decision. It looks like he is going to go for it. Doesn't have a dagger set up for the Deadly Poison though. ChongGEr's already shaking his head. He's like, really? Yeah. You already have it?
Of course you have it.
Of course you have the coin conceal. One more chance at the conceal here. not, then it just gets taken out pretty easily. Just going to pass. Okay, not even going to go for it. Has a second gadget in hand. Barnes is the pickup here. And ChongGEr, I feel like this, as painful as it looks, it's probably going to be bashing to execute. You want to save your Ting Master for when there's a concealed gadget.
Yeah. That makes sense.
All right, this is the issue with Warrior, though. As good as of a matchup is, you give Rogue a lot of time to set up. And yeah, like turns like these, you're like, okay, well, Rogue, I guess your turn. So you don't actually put anything on the board, don't have anything to respond to. And looks like, all right, it's going to be setting up the dagger here, attacking face. Ledah realizes he needs to get as much damage to the face as possible, isn't too shy about just attacking the face with the dagger here. Doesn't really care about taking out minions. He can do that with the myriad spells in hand. Oof. Sylvanas comes into the hand, but that would immediately get stabbed. Probably with the Gadget Auctioneer. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
And this is a problem for... Wow. Okay. We're in trouble. The issue for Ledah here is that he might not want to play into Brawl. We know there's no Brawl in ChongGEr's hand. There's actually 2 in the deck. And Ledah got pretty wrecked by a Brawl earlier on when he was playing against ChongGEr. I was watching down in the stadium. So Ledah doesn't want to repeat that, but at the same time, it's hard to pass up gadgets in Sab, Coin, and Conceal. All right. Oh, he's gonna go for this. Okay, this makes sense. He says, you know, I'm not gonna let you brawl. I don't need to sap this. It's fine. And okay, he's gonna go for the Prep Van Cleef Conceal.
Okay.
And I think this is a 6/6. 8/8, excuse me.
Oh, it makes it a 50-50 for the Tink Master Overspark there.
Right, yeah, Tink Master, whatever it hits is fine. Obviously wants to squirrel out of it.
Oh!
Wow, he has the gadgets, and so that's more damage on the field here for Ledah, but no draws. Getting the Zoth off of it. That being something like a Rag would have been pretty huge. And Conceal number 2. All right, he's all in. Oh, he just has lethal. My mistake. Yeah, all in into the face, and he has lethal. Okay, my mistake.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Caster Math is hard again.
Like you said, the Warrior, when it's in the Zoth archetype, it just gives his opponent so much time. Even the Death Rattle minions like Karen, Sylvanas, they're 6 drops, but they don't do anything when they're put onto the field. They're such slow cards. It's so hard to find a space to really play them and put on any pressure on your opponent. Like, the Rogue can just do, you know, go forward with a game plan, start cycling with the gadgets, and he just had all the cards he needed.
Yeah, the dream hand for the N'Zoth Warrior is just to have all removal and a couple of minions just in case Rogue gives you time. Right? If Rogue gives you time, you don't want to be sitting there armor passing, but you want to be able to get something on the field. That aside, you want to have all the removal, just remove everything you possibly can. Tink Master Overspark was reasonable in that regard, but spent a lot of time doing a lot of, you know, not very efficient things, right? Just revenging onto one minion, things like that. So it didn't work out too well. His hand was just a nightmare against Rogue, right? He had Cairn, Sylvanas, which is just prime sap targets.
Yeah.
And really nothing to do there for ChongGEr, but well played by Ledah, able to navigate that pretty well and made it so that he really didn't lose to Brawl, right? Brawl wasn't really an answer there. No matter what was in the hand. I mean, once it got to the point where the Sylvanas came out, that was almost game over, right? Because there's nothing really that ChongGEr could do. So well navigated by Ledah in a matchup that it's not always that simple.
True. So both guys are down to the 2 decks now. ChongGEr obviously still's got that in the Zoth War. He's also got a Hunter ready to go. Ledah still got that Druid, as well as his own Warrior actually. What's up with people choosing to ban the Shamans over the Warriors this tournament round? Because I feel like in the past few months, like banning Warriors have been like the go-to for a lot of players. Like, what caused the switch? Well,
the Shaman can just be problematic with the way that it's built, especially when you're not comfortable playing against it. For a lot of, if you're playing, for instance, as we take a look at the crowd, And it's definitely filled up here with players and fans alike. As you can see, sitting on these stairs because no real room. But yeah, going back to your question again, for these shaman, I think that people aren't as comfortable playing against the mid-range shaman right now, since it's kind of like hybrid, totems and mid-range, and it can be problematic, especially, for instance, if you are ChongGEr and you're playing the warrior. The mid-range shaman can be problematic because you have to kill all the totem boards, and if you're on the side of Ledah, I believe that, let's see, I'm looking at my, the shaman for ChongGEr was aggro shaman, and that really just crushes rogue.
Okay.
So I think they're just, lineup specific.
Okay.
We had a couple matchups yesterday where it was just the standard warrior ban, so I don't think it's anything crazy out of the region or anything crazy in the meta in general.
Okay. So just intelligent selective banning here from both players. It looks like it's going to be the N'Zoth Warrior yet again against that Token Druid.
Yep, and this is a pretty reasonable matchup for the N'Zoth Warrior. Obviously, it's hard to make meta calls when you don't really see this warrior too often, but it's just in general, the more control star warrior can run the Druid out of options. It does help for the Druid to have not Yogg, but instead have crazy ways to fill the board. One thing to keep in consideration here is that Ledah needs to space out his boards and make sure that he has the ability to make 3 massive boards.
Okay.
Right, and there's the possibility of doing that. You have the Vault Teacher. You can make a massive board, Pile of the Wild. There's the possibility of doing it with Fangel. It's a bit harder though because each card is basically a minion on the board, whereas that's not necessarily the case with the Vault Teacher. And there's other ways, things like Cenarius can help that out, Onyxia can help that out, obviously Soul of the Forest can help that out, and you just need to play around what the options are for removal, right? Because even if you get, for instance, the Whisper of the Old Gods into Soul of the Forest, your opponent can just go Ravage and go Brawl.
Yeah.
So you need to think about what your opponent has and how wide you want to go on the board, how much you want to play into Brawl when you don't have a way to refill the board the next turn. And so Ledah can do that, but the cards need to come in the right order. He needs to read his opponent correctly, essentially. And if you give your opponent too much time, if you play too patiently, then there's N'Zoth with a massive board that you cannot deal with because you don't have Yogg. So it's up to Ledah to balance, toe the line between playing too passively and playing patiently enough that you don't get wrecked by Brawl, essentially.
Yeah, ChongGEr already has both Brawls in hand, a Ravaging Ghoul as well, so he definitely has the key pieces to try and counter these massive board floods, which
Captured Jormungandr is a card we don't quite see very often. Pantry Spider is not an option here, most likely. Master Jester usually loses, but you do have an Arcane Giant as well as, we have Cenarius and Onyxia left in the deck, so he could potentially win a Joust. It might be better just go for the Jormungandr. Nope! Goes for the Master Jouster. I kind of want to get Jormungandr on the field. Just maybe I like the name too much, I don't know. Ravenattle is probably going to be the pick here, by the way. Even more value. Ravenattle, all for Ravenattle, endless value here. More minions. Major Noble Executives. Rag or no balls. Okay. All right. So I think it might be Fen Creeper. Wild Rocker doesn't do a whole lot, so yeah, going to go with the Fen Creeper. Wrath is reasonable. The healing doesn't really do a whole lot, so yeah. Solid but unspectacular here for Ledah.
He definitely wants to try and clear this Fandral. You don't want to let that sit on the field ready to gain more value. Yeah,
definitely. Unfortunately, there's no great way to deal with it. You can go Armor, Shield Slam, Coin Ghoul.
Okay.
He is going to go for the Tank Master.
Yeah, not that many other options, I don't think, but oof.
Right. I guess he just really wants to hold on to that coin.
Okay.
But now he's facing a Devil Sword, so it can be problematic. All right, back over to Ledah here. And it looks like it's going to be Jouster into Wrath. This is kind of a big joust because Divine Shields are not really easily dealt with. And he does get the joust against the Soft Warrior. Pretty huge there. Again, this is really annoying to deal with as Warrior.
Yeah, that Divine Shield is so annoying. You can't just use Ravaging Ghoul to execute straight onto it.
He could potentially go for Ravaging Ghoul coin Elise.
Okay.
He could also go for just coin Chilma, but you don't have any dragons in hand. He doesn't have any dragons in the deck, by the way. So
yeah.
All right. There's going to be just a card. Easy trade here for Ledah, but ChongGEr just saw Wrath, so there's not going to be that sort of punish here. But the obviously Master Jouster can just trade into that pretty easily. There's also the Fairway in hand. Looks like Ledah's going to go for the Nourish, though. As far as damage is concerned, he was somewhat close to just having lethal there. And Soul the Forest is the pickup, one of the pickups, excuse me, off of the Nourish. Goes ahead and swipes. Ledah realizes how annoying this is to get rid of the Divine Shield. And now ChongGEr suddenly down to 13.
Yeah, looking super close to dead here.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, he's got Bash to gain some armor.
What is the most he can, what's the way, the best he can just get out of, you know, or gain the most life right now? Because Ledah has a lot of damage in hand.
He's got Bash, that's 3 armor plus tank up, that's 7 altogether.
The thing is, he wants his Shield Slam.
Yeah.
So he could bash the Jouster, armor Shield Slam the Jouster. You're leaving up a Devil's Door. We can see in Ledah's hand he has Savage Roar. ChongGEr knows Savage Roar is in the deck. He also knows Fair Rage is in the deck, by the way, so he's kind of dead if he doesn't gain a lot of armor and or remove these minions. All right, he's going to go for the safest play here. And this is the issue with playing Justicar when your opponent has a board, because all of a sudden you're just playing catch up the rest of the game. The funny thing here is Ledah's probably really tempted to go for the massive wide board, but ChongGEr actually has the answer for that. He doesn't have an answer for big singular minions, but he has the answer for a wide board.
Yeah, Ledah's definitely aware of the possibility of brawls, so I don't think he's going to spread too wide. Although, that being said...
Well, this is fine, right? He's saying, you have to brawl this. You clearly... You just bashed and shield slammed a Master Jouster. You're clearly desperate. So, you got to brawl this, buddy. You got to brawl this board. It's not even you know, a token Druid board. It's just kind of like a Devil Sword that you gave me, plus a Fen Creeper off a Raven Idol, and the Mire Keeper with the slime. Yeah, you got to brawl this. And Ledah says, I got plenty of fuel where that came from. Let's see what survives. Is the slime. That's the best option, obviously, for ChongGEr here.
This could be a pretty big turning point, though, because if he does Wisp and Soul the Forest, like you said, ChongGEr has the perfect counter to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what he decides to go for. Ledah doesn't have the Wild Growth, which surprisingly enough is very nice to have in these sort of situations to pair with the Battle Teacher. He's going to go with the Battle Teacher anyway, it looks like. And let's see. So he can go for Battle Teacher, Innervate Soul the Forest, Giant, or Innervate Giant Soul the Forest? Wait, hold on. Caster math is difficult, guys. Hold on.
He's just going to go straight for Soul.
Yeah, he has to go for Soul first before he plays the Giant. But yeah, this is extremely difficult here for ChongGEr to deal with. All right, very well played here by Ledah. This is about as annoying as you can get.
He's gone both wide and tall.
He's a big boy. All right, ChongGEr, this is difficult. This is a tough situation. How do you get out of this if you are ChongGEr?
Like, you brawl, there's still a bunch of minions on the field.
Yeah, I think that Ghoul plus Brawl is likely his best chance here. And then he kind of has to coin tank up. So best case scenario, he goes for Ghoul, Brawl, and a 2/2 survives, which leaves behind 3 2/2s.
Yeah.
And that would be 14. A lot of damage still on the side of Ledah. So he's going to Brawl first. I'm not sure if I'd agree with this decision because these 1/1s are coming back as 2/2s. Best case scenario regardless, though. And I think Ledah's just won.
Yeah, this is very nostalgic.
He has to brash. He has to bash coin hero power, I believe. He might be dead. Okay, he's going up to 20. This is 5 plus, Power of the Wild, an extra 3. It's going to be 8 plus another 8 is 16. That's lethal.
Wow, okay.
1 over lethal.
And here it is, Ledah.
Pretty sure, unless Caster Math has ruined me again. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus an extra 8, plus 4. 8 plus 8 plus 4 is 20.
All right. He's got it. I think Ledah's just double checking and triple checking for the win here.
All right, that's going to be game number 3 going over to Ledah. And he is going to take a 2-1 series lead, 1 game away from going to the grand finals. And the Thai fans certainly had to be happy about this.
Yeah, for sure. Just 1 more win away from going to the grand finals. Oh man, Ledah's heart must be pumping.
Well, he looks pretty calm and cool.
He's not showing it at all there. I don't know, maybe being in his home country, some people makes them more nervous because like all of their friends are there and stuff, but maybe for him it's just, you know, nice comfort zone. He's at home playing a tournament.
Nice.
Life's good right now.
Yeah, nice. Right at home in Bangkok. Is he from Bangkok actually? Or did he?
No idea.
Well, we need to look that up.
He's from Thailand.
He's from Thailand. Thailand's actually a pretty big country by area, but yeah, doing his country proud. And he is 1 game away from that grand finals. And in the grand finals, anything can happen. And he could potentially take down $2,500 grand prize, which would add to his coffers because he's already going to the APAC Championships. Could be a pretty big year here for Ledah. What if he just wins BlizzCon?
Damn, that would be
he's
pretty
in the
amazing.
Running.
Yeah,
he's in the running. So
I want to see him do it with this druid as well.
Yeah, well, who needs Yogg, right?
Yeah,
no big deal. But we saw how annoying that is, and you know, maybe I made a mistake in as far as, you know, calling, or not calling the match, but like, you know, saying maybe the Warrior was favored. Looking at that situation right there, it's, you know, we just saw that ChongGEr was on the back foot the entire time, so maybe time to recalibrate that.
I mean, Ledah looks like he knows exactly how to play that matchup out. Like he took into account 2 brawls, you know, the possibility of ravaging ghouls.
Right.
Like I think a lot of lesser experienced players with that deck would have just gone, you know, with Wisps, Soul of the Force, been like, haha, I got you, and then just gotten totally wrecked.
Yeah, and went for the most annoying situation possible. And it looks like we're going to game number 4. Let's see if Ledah can take it, or if ChongGEr is going to force a game 5. Ledah going to be piloting the Warlock and going to go off against the Hunter. Looks like ChongGEr is not going to be wasting anyone's time here, going for the worst matchup right off the bat. See if he can't just pick it up.
Okay. I like his style. Well, at least like if he does win this slightly unfavorable matchup, he can, you know, be very comfortable in that last 5th game, being like, you know what, I overcame the bad matchup and just, you know, now I'm in my safe zone. Now I'm a little bit more comfortable. Confidence rises.
Yeah, absolutely. And it obviously puts the pressure on his opponent as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ledah's Zoo for a little bit. You casted it last series, but it's kind of like his Shaman, right? The bit of flavors from each kind of archetype. His Shaman was a mid-range, but did have the Thunder Bluff in there, whereas his Zoo has 1 Sea Giant, 1 Malchezaar's Imp, 1 Soulfire, 2 Doom Guards, and 1 Forbidden Ritual. So more or less a standard Zoo, but a little bit of a discard Zoo log flavor in there.
Yeah, he hasn't gone all the way with the discard. I feel like that's something that happens quite often when a new like kind of mechanic enters a deck archetype. People go all the way, like when Cthulhu came in, you know, with the patch, everyone was just going full on Cthulhu, and then it turned out actually you don't need to put that many Cthulhu buffing minions in your deck to make it optimal.
Right, just 2 Cthulhu cards. Oh, we activated it.
Yeah,
we activated
exactly.
all our crazy cards, and Cthulhu isn't really the card you're wanting to buff. You want to get up to just that 10/10, and make sure your other cards are a bit more valuable there. By the way, ChongGEr with that Direwolf Alpha in the hand, that is the 1 Direwolf Alpha in his deck. So somewhat okay that he's picked it up, but double kill command is certainly not very good for him at all. I think he picked up the Kindly Grandmother off the top there, so at least he's got that going for him.
Well, I mean, the kill command might actually come in handy here if the Councilman gets played down.
I highly doubt that's going to be the case. I think that Ledah's either going to be going for... there's going to be some sort of Voidwalker coming out here.
Sure.
And he might be proving me wrong, but hopefully not. We'll see. I think it might be coin Dark Peddler into... Oh, no, he's just going to go for right now. I suppose he feels like if the kill command comes out, there's no way to buff the Kindly Grandmother to trade into the Imp. So, you know, if you're ChongGEr here, you're damned if you don't kind of situation.
Yeah.
All right, so proves me wrong. Certainly, it makes sense in some regard.
Yeah, I mean, Kill Command is not really a card that your opponent's really looking to keep in their hand, so.
Right. And ChongGEr's going to go ahead and go face with his Kindly Grandmother. Does pick up the quick shot, which, again, you don't really want to have against Zoo, but in the situation where he's a bit behind, it could help out. All right, triple one drop looks like the play here. Probably going to see, yeah, the Flame Imp. And this is as annoying as it gets for the Hunter.
Yeah, the double 3 health taunt is so hard to break through. And it's really awkward to play Unleash the Hounds as well. Like, 4 bodies is nice.
I feel like
you're on 4 mana. You definitely don't want to be playing that.
I feel like one side of this board is 2013, one side is 2016. Like, oh my god, the Karazhan cards. Oh yeah, it turns out that just Flame Imp and Voidwalker just killed that guy. So Ledah with an interesting read here. ChongGEr decided to go face last turn with the Kindly Grandmother, and that showed him, by the way, Barnes. Let me just stop for Barnes here for a second, and gets a fiery bat, not too bad. But yeah, Ledah was concerned about ChongGEr being able to buff his minion there. He knows that ChongGEr has the Abusive Sergeant in the deck.
Right.
Alright, so Ledah going to play out all of his minions here, I would imagine, before he Doomguards next turn. Will only discard 1 card. The question is, which to pick here? All these are pretty reasonable. If he kills everything but the Barnes and plays Corruption on Barnes, then it just dies for Voidwalker, which is reasonable, but he could just play another Voidwalker. Young Priestess is not too bad either. I think he's going to go trade into the Barnes and play the Voidwalker, though.
Okay.
And plays the good ordering here, plays the other Voidwalker first, so that the spit, if it hits the Voidwalker that hits the field, their situation, but I think this is the turn that ChongGEr was looking for. Going to be Unleash, Dire Elf Alpha, I think almost certainly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he just clears the board here. So hold on. Unleash, he plays Dire Elf Alpha, 3-1 goes into the 1-3 Voidwalker. Hound goes into each of the other ones. He's left with a 2-1 Hound and has the board. So, wow, okay. Zoo was looking pretty good this entire game, but all of a sudden, this turn is going to be pretty nasty.
Yeah, what a great swing turn here. What is he considering? Maybe just figuring out the ordering there. Right.
You want to keep the Hound on the left alive, because anything that summons goes on the right side. But Power Overwhelming, not too bad throwaway here. I think Ledah's playing 1 Power Overwhelming. Yeah. I kill off the Dire Elf Alpha, but that means that Kill Command kills it off. All of a sudden, ChongGEr's looking in a great spot right now. Even has the huge Toad. Even though it's off curve, you do want to play the huge Toad here. The Eaglehorn Bow, has charge essentially. So yeah, complete turnaround, and yeah, ChongGEr's completely in the driver's seat. Before for mid-range off the top. All right, it's probably going to be Knife Juggler into. Like Peddler really needs to hit this snipe onto the doggy, to the Hound. Soulfire is pretty nice here.
Yeah. Ooh, Juggle goes to face though.
And ChongGEr, he can actually start counting lethal damage here pretty soon. Oh, not lethal, but just have his opponent in a situation where he can't recover, really. Especially with tapping all the time, but not even going to consider, really. He's going to go ahead and clear the board. And yeah, this is pretty unrecoverable here from Ledah.
Oh, yeah. That draw doesn't help at all here. Still got the light up, but it brings him down to... Oh, no!
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez.
One of the only unplayable cards.
Yeah. Well, High Main or Animal Companion, both pretty reasonable right now. At 21 life, though, you're pretty happy. Just throwing down that High Main.
Yeah.
Getting that hit in.
That's the nail in the already closed coffin
yeah.
of Ledah.
GG. ChongGEr forces a game number 5 with his Hunter. And now we got a showdown between the Warrior and that Zoo. ChongGEr, both these players looking completely composed and just calm out here.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what's allowed them to get this deep in the tournament, not letting the pressure phase them, just to be able to get into the zone. And
yeah, we saw Gogong earlier, our Korean player, just wearing his emotions on his sleeve. Maybe didn't help out in the end for him.
Yeah, it might just be a person-to-person thing, though. Like, inside Ledah could be like, oh my god, I'm so nervous, oh my god, you know. Like, He's just really good at hiding it. He'd be a good poker player then, actually.
Certainly. Well, we are going to the game number 5 when these players are ready. Going to be the N'Zoth Warrior. And by the way, ChongGEr's already lost twice with that deck. Could it be his downfall here? It's actually been banned in the past. Maybe that's why you don't ban Warrior, right? You can just win against it.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's also one of the lesser seen Warrior deck archetypes.
Yeah, it's probably like number 6 or 7 on the list.
Right, like, and there's probably a reason for that. But, I mean, apparently ChongGEr is extremely confident in it because he did bring it to this tournament. So, who knows? Yeah,
it's an interesting, interesting the way he constructed the deck, right? Because you can tell there's a lot of defense in the deck. He has double Infested Tauren,
right? In
order to make sure that when he puts up the N'Zoth, that he gets those double taunts up, as well as the Chill Mode, which has no dragon activated in the deck. It's just 7 mana 6/6 with the Death Rattle. But here we go, game number 5. This is for all the marbles as far as going to the grand finals is concerned. Loser is out in 3rd place in this tournament, and as is customary with the Zoo starting hand, it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
So, well, I wasn't making any balance issues, by the way. I was making the argument that it just goes right perfectly, curving into what he wants. And just gonna get out the Voidwalker right now. There is the argument sometimes. For instance, I know that Firebat likes to go for 1-drop into coin 3-drop. But Ledah's just gonna go for 1 coin 1 into 2 into 3, and when your opponent does Fire War X, feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, ChongGEr was definitely looking to draw that right there, and fortunately, Chill Maw is what he drew, not what he was looking for at all.
Yeah, the last card. That is just N'Zoth fuel. Right?
Yeah,
you're not even wanting to play it on turn 7, really.
Yeah.
All right, well, ChongGEr in a bit of trouble here. If he plays the Acolyte, he's going to get value traded on with the Flame Mint, but seems like he really needs that card, at least in his estimation. Ledah needs to trade first, yes. All right, gonna play the Inking Boss rather than the Darkshire Councilman.
Maybe looking to swing with the Imp Gang Boss after he summons the Darkshire next turn or something, but...
Right. Well, ChongGEr picks up the Revenge, but that's not going to be too useful. And you don't really want that to be useful this early in the game.
I mean, a 1 damage whirlwind effect is still pretty nice. Could potentially, partially clear the board of Ledah eventually. And right now, not that useful though, especially with that Imp Gang Boss ready to go.
Yeah, ChongGEr has a few options here. He can go for the Infested Tauren. He can go for Execute Bash, which is not the worst. It seems weird on a Flame Mint, but there's not that many minions you want to execute anyway. And he can also go for Barnes and hope he gets something like an Infested Tauren or a Cairn or a Rag. And goes with the Infested Tauren in the end. Goes for the consistent play.
Yeah. Well, he just wants to put something on the board which his opponent has to trade with.
And Ledah has to be thinking about Brawl right now. So yeah, that's why you see the tap here. It's very tempting. You look at both hands and you're like, why doesn't he just go for Darkshire Councilman and Flame him? Oh, this noob. But yeah, there's certainly considerations for Brawl here. And I imagine we're going to see a trade with the Voidwalker rather than the Flame Imp. Or excuse me, the Imp King Plus. Alright, so ChongGEr's position hasn't really improved, fortunately for him.
No.
It could be just, honestly, he might just want to tempo execute pretty soon here, just to get some pressure off of him. So I think Execute Barnes is fine. I think Execute Bash is fine. I think I'd rather have Barnes though, because you want to be playing on curve as much as possible. Getting the most out of your cards next turn can be just double Bash. So looking at this, I think I'd like the Execute Barnes, but he disagrees. Just going to go with Bash and Armor Up.
Okay.
This might be a bluff that he has Brawl, saying, it's like, you think that I have Brawl and I'm actually doing this in order to bait you into Brawl.
So like a two-layered mind game there.
Exactly. I think that might actually be what he's thinking right now. And look, Ledah, he's going to tap. So yeah, bit afraid of Brawl here.
Playing it very conservative.
But he's still going to get 6 damage, or excuse me, 7 damage to face here. So, I don't know how much it worked, quote unquote, here for ChongGEr.
Right. I mean, he slowed his opponent down a little bit, but is it going to be enough is the question. Another infested Tauren there. It will put something.
It's reasonable for the N'Zoth eventually, but
yeah, but
right
still
now you're
4 turns away from it.
Yeah, right now you're playing a 4-mana 2/3.
Yeah.
So yeah, not too great. You don't even want to play a 2-mana 2/3. So
very true.
River Clockless followed by a Slime. I'll pass.
Without the beast synergy.
All right, so ChongGEr is feeling the pressure here, going to actually commit to one of the executes, as well as the bash. The issue with the bash is you want to take the damage right now. You know that Ledah's not going to commit to the board. You want to just take the damage, or at the very least, prevent your opponent from actually attacking you, to prevent you from going into revenge range. Right now, Ledah can just attack with everything, and he's not going to get ChongGEr in range, and eventually he'll just have lethal, like, through the 12 damage. So, you know, using bash, ChongGEr almost wishes that he didn't get the armor here, strangely enough.
So many possibilities.
Or maybe just bank the armor and get it later or something like that.
If you could invest that armor in some stocks, you know,
Yeah.
maybe get that back later once it's grown.
Absolutely. 5.1 armor.
No, considering the market, he'll probably lose all of it.
Oh, feels bad, man.
Get it out! Get it out!
Huh. Okay, I was gonna say, it's one thing to play around Brawl, it's another thing to just not tap. Alright, so it's gonna be the Dark Iron Dwarf playing on the left side, and down to exactly 13 here. This is what I was mentioning. Ledah playing around that revenge, and ChongGEr shuffles in his chair a bit, saying, 13, really? Come on. By the way, this 2-1 Voidwalker has been alive for the longest time. That 2-1 Voidwalker has gotten in for 6 to 8 damage. This is why, guys, probably some of you guys in the chat were like, what is he talking about, executing a 2-1? But this is exactly the reason why you go for a type of execute sometimes. Looks like it's probably going to be Infested Tauren into execute. That's how he's played this game thus far.
Yeah.
After investing in that slam. And he thinks he's dead. ChongGEr calls it the well played. And is he dead is the question. 3, 5, 7. And yeah, I think he's dead. I think he's dead. Abusive Sergeant on to the Possessed Villager in. Attacks with everything, places the Doomguard next to the Direwolf Alpha.
Wow.
That is exact lethal here for Ledah. He is moving on to the Grand Finals to face off against Shy and the grand prize money. Well played by Ledah, and the Thai fans are going nuts right now.
Look at him. Come on. You can smile.